Hi everyone, my name is Christopher North and I'm a third year student at the Telfer School of Management. I chose the University of Ottawa because I grew up in a bilingual household where my mom spoke French, my dad spoke English, and so it kind of just made sense for me to go to the University of Ottawa, and that is the biggest French-English university in the world. When it came to the program, it was a little bit more of a choice. I've always found myself to be somewhat of a people person, and I really enjoy speaking with people and getting to know their stories, and so human resources, which is my program, seemed like the best fit for me, and I really enjoy getting to know how people work in an organization, what motivates them. When it comes to the culture, there's obviously the typical university culture, that is, we're trying to stay ahead of our assignments and our courses, and so stress is a big part of it. But I would say that the culture at U Ottawa and the culture at Telfer specifically is very welcoming. I have never really felt that I didn't belong at this university, and it really shows in the friends that I've made and in the connections that I've made throughout my studies. There is a lot of different teaching styles. In fact, there's as many teaching styles as there are professors, and so it's important to be adaptable to whatever situation you throw yourself into, but there are some commonalities between the courses. For example, in first year, you'll be taking all the same courses as any other business student. However, most of these courses will have a lecture component, which is the typical go in the university, sit down, and listen and write note. And then some of those courses will also have a DGD component, that stands for discussion group or groupe de discussion. And this essentially differs between the courses, but most of the time it's just a TA. You're there sitting with them and you're able to have a discussion. You're able to talk about the course, talk about concepts that you might not have understood as well. And what's nice about this is that you're talking to a TA and not the professor, so it's more of a welcoming environment where you feel like you're able to ask the questions that you might not want to ask in the actual course for fear that you'll be judged, but I can fairly say that you won't be judged for having any kind of questions. For the first 2 years, teaching tends to focus a lot more on theories rather than actual applications of those theories, just because they want you to have a strong base. But there are still quite a bit of case studies, and I can remember in first year that I was doing a ton of research. One of my classes, social context business, you have to write a paper on a certain business and you have to analyze them according to all of the concepts in the class. Every single ADM course I've taken has had a group project of some kind, and if they don't, they are the exception and not the rule. ADM is administration, and that's the business courses. For the most part, Telfer tends to be pretty exam focused, so you can expect multiple choice exams, you can expect short answer questions, case studies or essays. You will almost always have some kind of midterm and a final. Most of them will be exam. Your final does tend to be worth a lot. I've had finals worth as high as 60%. In general, you end up around 30, 40, 50% range. Most of the times you'll also have an extra deliverable, whether it be an assignment, the group project that I mentioned earlier. When it comes to studying, I've seen a lot of people use different strategies, like for every percentage point they invested a certain amount of hours. That's not really my style. I tend to prefer to just plan out my project, give myself deadlines, and that's what I stick with, but to each their own. Another thing that's important to note is that rarely is there the chance to get extra credit. So take every assignment like a chance to get a great grade, because obviously you will do this, but if you do mess up, there's not really going to be a chance to make up for that grade later on. Profs are human too. If they make their midterm too hard, they realize that in their averages, and so they will bell curve sometimes if your whole class is doing poorly enough, or if the average just isn't quite where they want it to be. In terms of important skill sets, I'd say that there's two really big ones for Telfer. First, you need to be a good communicator. If you're not able to communicate your ideas, then you're gonna have a harder time in the program than anyone else, just because it's very important to be able to get a clear idea across in a very short amount of time. Most of the times in the higher years, your task isn't necessarily write this much, it's bring this down. So instead of writing a 20-page paper, you're gonna be writing 2-page papers that are supposed to have 20 pages worth of information. And then the second skill that I say that people need would definitely be to be adaptable, because every course tends to be different and you're kind of learning in a multidisciplinary environment where not everyone's necessarily a business major, not everyone is as interested in certain topics as you, and so it's important to have different interests and to be able to bring those to the table whenever you're working on any assignment. And being adaptable is especially important when it comes to group projects and when it comes to organizing your priorities, so that you're able to meet every deliverable and so that you're able to do so while also having the time to be able to, well, communicate your ideas. So the first 2 years at Telfer, you go through what we call the Common Core. You have all of the basic courses and the fundamentals of business. That's your entire first 2 years. You don't get much choice when it comes to what you're taking in those first 2 years, and so it's important to kind of like business and to like what you're learning. But you do learn quite a few things. Like one of the first courses that I can remember is Intro to Business Management. There's Social Context of Business, a few math courses, and then one course that I know everyone from Telfer knows and is kind of infamous in the Telfer community is the presentations course. It's called Effective Business Communication Skills, and you do have to do presentations on a weekly basis and write memos to go with them. And trust me, if you're not a good presenter, you can still pass this class. You just need to do exactly what they say on the rubric, and they'll give you good notes. It's just important to do what is told in those assignments. Once you get past those first 2 years though, then you start getting a lot more choice, and then you get to start taking courses that kind of interest you. For me, this was classes like digital marketing, new venture creation, and this is on top of my human resources course. It can be quite the obstacle to pass through those first 2 years, but definitely it is worth it once you get past it, in my opinion. As a general rule, when it comes to timeline and skills for the courses that you're going to be taking, if you're a finance or an accounting student, you're probably going to take a lot of math. That's just kind of inevitable. But if you're in anything else, basically, you will be taking a little less math, but it is still important to be able to do it. You have 4 math courses that are mandatory. So you have calculus, linear algebra, and then 2 stats courses that you need to complete. If you're not a math whiz, that's okay. Just work on it. Try your best to get through these courses. When it comes to the application process, it kind of depends on where you're from. I know the process for Ontario. If you're in Ontario, you need mid or low 80s to get into the program. Mid 80s for the BCom JD program, low 80s for any other business program. But if you're below those thresholds, then absolutely fill out the Declaration of Personal Experience. This is a little document that you can submit to the admissions officers that they'll read, and they'll see why your grades might not be quite above that threshold, and they'll be able to take that into account while they're evaluating your file. Finally, when it comes to scholarships, the only thing I can say is apply, and apply some more. There's so many scholarships every year, and so you're bound to get a few throughout your university experience. You can write 500 words for $1,000 payoff, then I'd say that's quite the payday. And it's definitely worth taking the 15-20 minutes that it takes to write a 500-word little page on why you should receive this bursary. There's also a lot of them that go unclaimed every year, and so it's important, and you never know. You might apply for one that you don't think you're quite the right fit for, but you could also be the only person that did apply for it, and so you might just get it out of that. In high school, I absolutely, positively suggest taking calculus, because if you don't take calculus in high school, then you won't be able to get into the math courses that you need, and that's kind of a priority. But the university does offer a makeup course, so if you don't take it in high school, then you can take it at the university, but you're also paying university level fees for that course. So if you don't take calculus, which I do highly suggest, then you can take it at a night class, which will be a lot cheaper before you get to university. When it comes to harder and easier classes, I found that the prof tends to have quite the incidence at university, and so it really does depend on who the professor is and how they teach and whether it'll be good for you, because not everyone's teaching styles is good for everyone, and so it's important to not look at it as a one-size-fits-all approach. But a few professors that worked really well for me were Marjolaine Hébert, I love her. Rim Jabber for business analytics was fantastic as well. And same with Jonathan Simon, Stephen Days. There's quite a few great professors at the University of Ottawa. When it comes to course registration, please look at the dates. Look up on Google, UOttawa, important dates and deadlines, and then find the semester that you're looking for. Open the enrollment dates, find out when you're supposed to enroll. Because if you do it the first day that you're able to at 8 a.m. when it opens, you will absolutely get the classes that you want, and hopefully they won't fill up by the time that you're already doing it. But the longer you wait, the less chance you have of actually getting into the courses that you need to graduate. And the waitlist isn't always the best option for our faculty. You're also able to prepare your schedule about a week ahead of time. They'll give you access to put all the things in your cart, so that way when the enrollment date comes, you can just press confirm and then you'll be enrolled into your courses. If you run into any problems, look up the Enrollment Help Center at UOttawa. I've worked there for 2 years. They're fantastic and they really know their stuff. there's a lot of job prospects when it comes to a business degree. In fact, I'm in the co-op program, and the university totes a 97% placement rate in the first year after graduation. And with us being in Ottawa, the federal government is an amazing employer, and they employ tons and tons of students. So if you're able to get in through the FSWET program, or if you're able to find a way into the federal government to learn, they're definitely a great place to get some on-the-job experience. But you can also do other things throughout your studies in order to kind of set yourself aside. Like for me, I know I started making my own website thanks to one of my courses, and I've done a few other little projects here and there, and I've been working at the university to kind of get my name out there and to get people to know who I am. And if I can suggest anything, if you're a little worried and you can't get into the co-op program, try Telfer's Career Launch website. They do workshops, they do networking events, all sorts of things throughout the entire year, and you're able to participate these for virtually free. When I was in first year, I lived in residence, and that definitely really helped, because while it was not without faults, I definitely met a ton of interesting people that I can't wait to see what they do with their lives. I also had a great time living on campus, and it was definitely an experience not to be forgotten for me. When it comes to housing off campus, people tend to stick around the university, and so you're looking at neighborhoods like Sandy Hill especially, that is chock full of students because it's right next to the university. But we tend to stay in the downtown core unless you have a car or you're willing to take the buses. Definitely try it out, find some good roommates and stick with them. That's my best suggestion for that. Beyond academics, I'd say the University of Ottawa has a great community feel. It's still quite a small campus, but it's in the heart of downtown Ottawa. And so I've never really felt like I didn't belong at the university, and that's honestly one of the biggest things that I can hold to my heart and say that I love the University of Ottawa. In terms of party culture, I'm not the biggest partier, but I will say that there's a lot of stuff that happens around special times of the year. So you have the holidays. St. Patty's is a really big one at U Ottawa. There's a lot of street parties that go on during those times, but then also Panda Game is absolutely huge. It's a rivalry that's existed for a while between U Ottawa and Carleton. We get together, do a big football game, and whoever wins gets Pedro, who's this little stuffed panda, and it's a trophy for winning the Panda Game. There's a ton of cheers that go on, people storm the field after. It's a great time, and there's a lot of fun stuff that happens around those times of the year whenever there's something special happening. When it comes to clubs, the university is definitely spoiled for choice. There are so many clubs at the University of Ottawa, and in fact, if you want to get a sense of how many there are, check out Campus Vibes, and that's Vibes with a Z. When it comes to special clubs that I think of the Quidditch Club, I think of the People's Republic of Deliciousness, which just brings food to the campus and then offers it free to different students. You can find something for your interests, 110%. When it comes to making friends, it depends on what kind of person you are. In first year, if you're willing to go up and talk to people, that's a great way to do it. If you're trying to do intramurals, which is little sports between people, that's also an excellent way to meet friends. If anything's in person, then maybe sharing gum or giving someone some kind of candy or lending pencils or just overall saying hi to people. You tend to meet a lot of people through group projects as well. And so just be open, be helpful, and be kind, and I'm sure you'll meet a lot of people. When it comes to diversity on campus, there's definitely resources out there that exist, and for me, I can only really speak to my experience. And as a queer person, I've definitely found my resources, and I've found my tribe of people that I sit well with. And there's the Pride Center at the university, there's bars in the local area, and if you're able to find where your people are, then you're able to find people that enjoy you and that people will greet you with open arms. The university is quite diverse. There's quite a large population of international students, and a lot of them tend to enjoy the business school as well. So you'll definitely meet people from all walks of life at the University of Ottawa, and that's kind of one of the beauties of it, is that we have both French and English, and so you meet people from different backgrounds, people from different continents, and it's a cool experience. And I definitely, coming from a super small town in southwestern Ontario, was not terribly exposed to that growing up, and so I was definitely pretty excited to get to the University of Ottawa and to get to meet different people from different backgrounds, and it's definitely been a learning experience for sure. In terms of support, there's quite a bit out there. You just kind of got to know how to find it. And so I would say if ever you're looking for a resource, chances are there probably is one that exists. And so if you're in first year and you're a Canadian student or an international student, reach out to your mentor. You've definitely received an email from them if you're in mid-May or if you've actually applied. And so reach out to the regional mentors, reach out to the international mentors, ask them questions. They know just about everything from the university, and so if you have a question, chances are they'll be able to answer it. When it comes to mental health services, there's a walk-in clinic on campus that you can meet with a registered psychotherapist the day of. And since COVID hit, we've definitely been doing online meetings, which has been nice. For academic supports, there's the faculty mentors, there's some math help centers, there's science help centers, depending on what program you're in. If you're in business, you've definitely got the supports you need. You've got the Telfer mentors, you've got the Student Services Center. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. There's study groups, you get emails all the time about different tutors, and there are supports that exist at the university, and so it's just about going to find them. If you had a personal education program in high school, or if you had certain adaptations or accommodations, then you can definitely get those as well at the university. You just need to get a doctor to sign off on them. Just reach out to SAS, which is the Student Academic Success Service. If I had any suggestion for myself in first year, I would definitely tell myself to sit back and kind of smell the roses and relax. I was so tightly wound in my first year because I didn't want to fail and I didn't want to go below anyone's expectations of me or even my own, and that I didn't give myself the time to enjoy myself. I didn't really give myself the time to enjoy hanging out with my friends or to go to a bar or to really have that kind of university experience in first year, just because I was so focused on doing well and on being my best and to living up to people's expectations, that if I have any suggestion, it's definitely to take it a little easy and to try and learn from your failures if you do fail, and if you don't, then props to you. Otherwise, I also would like the time to say that mental health is incredibly important, and if you think about it in terms of Maslow's pyramid, and self-actualization is at the top of that pyramid, that's your diploma, and it's at the top of the pyramid for a reason. If you're not feeling well, if your mental health is struggling, if your physical health is struggling, if anything below that pyramid is struggling in terms of physiological needs, focus on that, because you can't get your diploma if you're driving yourself to the ground. So don't do that. Take care of yourself. Do what you need to do in order to put yourself as priority number one, because ultimately you only get one life. And so if you're not using it well, then I don't know what you're trying to do. And that kind of puts an end to my video. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I really hope that I'll be hearing from you guys in the future. If you do decide to come to Telfer, feel free to check me out on socials. They'll be tagged here, and if you want to check out my website or my blog, it's christophernorth.ca. I was very happy to get that domain name, but I do want to take the time to wish you all good luck, and I can't wait to see your bright faces on campus.